Yay, budget builds, that's the fun stuff. Some time ago a friend came by and said, I have 2.5K, can you build me a gaming PC? But I also need 2 monitors, maybe even 144Hz, and a monitor stand. So it's more like 2K. And let's see what we can do with that. Okay, so there are no real requirements for this build except for make it the best possible. And overall the rig will be used for some gaming and maybe casual streaming. So RTX 3070 it is. Then with a budget that big, I absolutely wanted to go with a Ryzen 5800X. But with these two, I already used a ton of that money, so now it's time for some saving. The guy who will be using this will put it on a desk, and he wanted it to look gaming. So a full tower case will maybe be a bit too much, but I was able to use the Intertech X608, which is already very gaming, and then pair it with a couple of Intertech Velo 1205 fans, because they look kinda same like the included fan. Now to finish the cooling side, I was able to use the Cooler Master ML120L V2. I was actually planning on using the ASI H240, but let's just say it didn't meet my expectations. Make sure to check out the review if you haven't already. And to finish the ports with the RGB section, I was able to cram a pair of Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB 3200 MHz with a total of 32 gigs. As for the mainboard, I went with a Gigabyte B550M DS3H because I know that it works. For drives, I went with a 1TB Gigabyte NVMe that doesn't really have a model name, but it's quick, it's gigabytes, what can go wrong? But because I know that 1TB will never be enough for the amount of games an average person is playing nowadays, I also got him a Seagate Skyhawk 4TB. Not that he really needs a hard drive meant for video surveillance, but it was on sale and having 24/7 rating never hurts. As the last mandatory port, a semi-modular power supply, the 750 watts Thermaltake BM2. Smart BM2. Now, as a little bonus, because there was some budget left, I got him a pack of black and red cable mod extensions, because budget build. Okay, with a ton of hardware on the table, let's get to building this thing. Okay, so that was not the most enjoyable ride. Looking back, maybe it wasn't the best idea to cram that amount of hardware in there. Of course, everything is inside and works fine, but the GPU is just massive and the semi-modular power supply did not help with that tight space behind it. Of course, it was my own dumb idea to use cable extensions, which just made everything worse. So yeah, it was hard, but at least it looks good. Now, something that did not look good at all were the GPU fan speeds. For some reason, the GPU fans went into overdrive at some point. And after an hour or two of research and wondering, it turned out that the GPU holding bracket, which came with the case, was a bit too long, which meant that this little rubber piece here held the fan blades in place. Normally everyone would immediately hear that and know what is up, but in this case the Gigabyte fans are not spinning by default, but they are only one is spinning for a short moment at post, and then everything is just kept at 0 until the GPU goes over 50 degrees. Now, once I opened the game or whatever, all the fans tried to spin but couldn't because they were blocked off by that piece of rubber, thus not creating that grinding noise that you would normally hear. And because the first fan could move because it wasn't blocked off, it went into rage mode and never came down from it. And after an hour or two, fixed. But for anybody who has a GPU with a bit out-sticking fans, you may need to keep an eye on these ones. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get to performance because, oh boy, we are in for a treat. Cinebench, 5711 points, easy. Furmark, 194 FPS, easy. Handbrake, 161 seconds, easy. But before you may think that the difference is solely because we added another 500 euro to the budget, do not forget that between the 1500 euro build and this one is a whole new generation of CPU and GPU. So basically everything in here is new. Okay, now coming to the most important part, actual games. So let's take a look at that. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider on 1080p with everything cranked up to the max and anti-aliasing on the edge, we got a solid 106 FPS. Cranking up the resolution to 1440p gave us 68 FPS. For Metro Exodus, we run the test in RTX preset, giving us 104 FPS on 1080p and in 1440p 65 FPS. As the last game, we ran Horizon Zero Dawn, providing us with 108 FPS on 1080p Ultimate and 75 FPS if we turn the resolution up to 1440p. So overall, this thing is a gaming beast. It will run whatever you want in whatever setting you want and keep everything about 100 FPS in 1080p. For 1440p gaming, it is still a very good machine. Sure, the counter wasn't displaying 3 digits, but I also exaggerated with the settings. But once you turn anti-aliasing to TAA, the FPS counter is still in the upper 90s, even 1440p. Okay, so this should be it for you at least. I still need to prepare this thing and make sure that somebody will come and pick it up. But for you, I hope you've enjoyed the video, but you can always tell me with a thumb up or thumb down, and I would love to hear if you have some idea on what hardware I should have a look at next. So leave your suggestions down in the description below, and don't forget to be subscribed because next week, I actually don't know what's up for next week. Because next week there will be another video, so stay tuned for that. But until then, have a look at one of these totally random videos.